Get ready to spread them cheeks. And that's because we're making barbacoa today. While some people use chuck roast, I will be using a mixture of beef cheeks and short rib today. They're gonna be tender, they're gonna be juicy, they're gonna pull apart and melt in your mouth, just like cheeks should. I'm talking about butt. All right, we are starting out with just under 4 pounds of beef cheeks here. Let me actually throw some gloves on here. Now, traditionally, barbacoa, take the head of a goat or a cow, dig a hole in the ground, throw it in there, set it on fire, cover it with some banana leaves, and there's barbacoa. It's done like the next day or whatever. But I don't have a hole to dig. I do have a grill because we're gonna be smoking these today. So these are gonna be a mixture of like traditional, but then also like with some Tex-Mex to it, and then just my own little spin. It's gonna be a whole bunch of things, but it's gonna be good. So I've got beef cheeks, and if you've never seen beef cheeks, they can be intimidating. Doesn't this just look sexy? While it looks intimidating, you don't have to be afraid, because all we really need to do as far as trimming goes is just get rid of some of the big pieces of fat. I'm just looking over everything real quick just to see. So like this is a huge chunk of fat that I can pretty much, I can lose that entire thing right here. Yeah, see? Like there's like a tiniest bit of meat. I'm okay with losing that. But we just want to get these off so that way we don't have huge chunks of unrendered fat. And you don't have to go crazy with this because some fat is flavor. Actually, I think I might cut this off just because that does look like it's pretty much some hard fat. So you can kind of feel this too and tell whether there's really anything to it. Like this is definitely some hard fat right here. So I'm gonna check that. There's some fat right here. It's kind of on the harder side. So trim that off. Here at the end. And you could go all right, let's see. Here's a little bit of fat right there. Cool. And like this right here, if you want to spend the time, you can. You trim that right off, exposing some of that new fat, that new surface fat. And then as far as like the silver skin that's on here, you can trim it off if you want to. You can also just leave it on there. It's all gonna break down and get shredded. So I'm not gonna obsess over it too much. So it looks pretty good to me. So that's one beef cheek. And while it's not the sexiest, the reason why we're using this is because of all this fat that's marbling through here. That's gonna make it so tender and juicy and help it just fall apart and shred and provide lots and lots of flavor. So there's one beef cheek there. I've got one more. Again, this is just under 4 pounds of beef cheeks, because each one is different. Every beef cheek looks different. Sometimes you'll get them already trimmed up, which is nice. And then other times you'll just get them however they came. So there may be way more fat on it. And if you got picky eaters, especially people who like see something visually and they can't eat it, maybe don't have them in the kitchen while you're trimming your beef cheeks. We're gonna be smoking these today at 275. And fun fact for you all out there, you don't have to do these in the smoker. I'm doing this because I love smoked flavors in my tacos. But if you wanted to, you could toss this in a crock pot, or just go straight to putting it in a braising liquid, which is what we'll do partway through the cook, and just wait till it gets tender. You can absolutely do that. And if you live in an area where you don't have access to beef cheeks, I got mine from my local Latin market, you could use short ribs. Just as good. Especially like in this, it's gonna be great having like the bones and stuff once in that braising liquid, just kind of releasing flavor. But with short ribs, you really don't have to do much. I mean, look at it, see if there's anything funny about it, but for the most part, these are all good to go. And this is about just under 4 pounds as well of short ribs. I'm making a lot of barbacoa because my plan is to eat barbacoa all weekend. So you can modify this to however you feel, but these are the short ribs that I have today, again, from a local Latin market. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these in this pan right here, and then we're gonna get to seasoning these. Got my cheeks here. What you could do is just salt and pepper these. I believe in Texas, that's probably what they're gonna do since they love barbacoa down there. I'm gonna do a mixture of 2 seasonings today. First one is this Heath Riles garlic jalapeno rub. It's just an all-purpose rub, but with some jalapeno in it. And it's gonna give us a great all-purpose seasoning layer as well as some heat. So I'm just gonna go on this backside. I mean, you could spray these with like a cooking spray or something to get it to stick. I'm not gonna worry too much about it today. And for this layer, I'm not going super heavy because what I wanna do is come back around with my Cattleman's Steakhouse seasoning. This is a Southwest seasoning. I just felt like doing it today. So for this layer, I don't mind going heavier because I want this to be that dominating flavor. And I'm just gonna give it a pat. And sometimes the cheeks can have crevices, little hidden places, so move it around, flip it over, make sure nothing's folded underneath anything like that right there. Just make sure we hit that so nobody gets a pocket of unseasoned meat. Okay, gonna flip that over and do the same for these short ribs. And for the short ribs, we're also gonna get the sides. Do not forget the sides. So coming in with our jalapeno rub on top. And these short ribs are just the way that my market cuts them. Usually they're cut in like more squares and stuff like that. This is just how they were there. So as long as it says short rib on it, you're good. They may look like this or they may look like the shorter ones. Either one is fine. Again, coming back for a second layer of seasoning. And then again, don't forget the sides. I'm gonna put the jalapeno on that as well. I'm just got this in my hand. And you also could just like pick it up and just kind of do that. That's actually probably better to do than me completely dousing this tray in seasoning. Let's not waste. I find myself, well, not now with things being expensive, but I found myself for a while wasting food, and it's not a good feeling, especially when you're like, man, could have ate that. Just realized my camera that I am supposed to talk to stopped recording randomly midway through. So I'm just gonna say that we have seasoned up our short ribs and our beef cheeks. I'm gonna run my grill today at 275, smoking these, of course. You can use any type of grill or smoker that you want, just maintain 275, indirect, of course. And we're gonna put these on for between 2 to 3 hours. What we're looking for is, for 1, our meat to get as much smoke flavor as it possibly can, and 2, hopefully develop some good color and bark on these. So upstairs is where we go, and I'll show you when I put them on. All right, we have got the beef cheeks and the short ribs on, rolling at 275. I made sure that I spaced them out so that way the air can flow around it. And as far as the short ribs go, I made sure that the meat side was up. And these are just gonna hang out until, again, like 2 hours from now. I'll check on it really good, just looking for smoke flavor and color. And then we'll put it in the braising liquid. Now, we're not gonna finish these on the grill today simply because once these take in the maximum amount of smoke, it's not gonna take in any more, and I'd rather not waste pellets on something that's not gonna be taking in smoke. So I'm gonna finish these in the oven today. But again, you can put these in the slow cooker if you want to. Same method, you just be cooking them in there the entire time with the braising liquid and let them break down. But I like mine smoky, so I'm gonna close these up and be back in 2 hours. All right, it has been 2 hours and we have some great color on these. Actually, much better than I expected. So I mean, look at it, you can already see like the bones. There's some drawback going on. These beef cheeks have definitely shrunken a lot. So let's get it off, and we're gonna get ready to put together our braising liquid. For our braising liquid, I'm cutting up 2 stalks of celery. A rough chop is fine here because we will be blending this later. I've also peeled and chopped 2 carrots, and I chopped up a whole white onion. I've also got about 5 to 8 garlic cloves here that I'm gonna just smash and remove from the paper. No need to mince or slice these. I also took 5 ancho chiles and 4 chipotle peppers, dried of course, and tossed them in a hot pan for a minute or so, just to wake up the flavors of the peppers. They'll start to smoke and then you know you're good. Then I removed the stems and as much as the seeds as I could, chopped the peppers up, and we moved to putting everything together. I placed everything in this large roasting pan along with 4 bay leaves and a stick of cinnamon. I poured 4 cups of beef broth into it, making sure it at least covers the vegetables. I placed the meat on top of everything and kind of nestled it in. Then in a measuring cup, I poured another 4 cups of beef broth and I threw in a tablespoon of cumin. And I'm doing it this way just so I can make the cumin dissolve within the liquid. I poured that around the meat and made sure the liquid was high enough to come up midway around the meat. You may need more or you may need less. Then I covered it with aluminum foil and placed it in my oven at 350 degrees. And we're gonna let this sit in the oven until the meat is fork or probe tender. You should feel no resistance. I first checked an hour into it and still had a good amount of give to it, so I popped it back in for about another hour and it was perfect. My probe was reading at 210 degrees internal, if you're wondering. Remember, every oven is different, so definitely don't take these times as hard times. Just fill it every hour until you feel like it's ready to fall apart. Afterwards, I got my meat out the braising liquid, remove the bay leaves and cinnamon sticks, you definitely do not want to forget those in there, and pop all that delicious liquid and vegetables and peppers into a blender and blend it until it becomes smooth. Now, hot liquids in a blender can go south very quickly, so I took the top plug off my blender and just covered the hole with a paper towel so it wouldn't explode everywhere. Then we just shred our meat into a bowl. I went back in and hit the meat with the cleaver just to make it finer, but you can just do it by hand or whatever you want. Once that's done, we'll pour some of that blended braising liquid and vegetables onto it and mix it all in. This will provide some great moisture and flavor and can be used as a sauce on top of the final taco. Speaking of, just some chopped cilantro and onion, a little bit of lime juice, and some cotija cheese is all I needed for these tacos because they were bursting with so much flavor. It was ridiculous. So that is my take on barbacoa. Hope you enjoyed this for your next Taco Tuesday. And as always, we have a Patreon link down in the description. $1 a month will greatly support the channel. So drink up. I definitely had my fill of tequila with these tacos. And I'll see you all back here for the next pour choices.